You know what it is. It's time for that pat on the back. You made it to Friday, and here we are ahead of a loaded sports weekend, and we don't have to wait long because tonight we will get somebody else to punch a ticket to the American League Championship Series and join the Toronto Blue Jays. Tomorrow we'll get the final ticket punched by either the Brewers or the Cubs, and a loaded weekend of college football on Saturday. We've got some really, really good games in the NFL on Sunday. We're going to have a conversation that people in Philadelphia and New York, especially in the Bronx, don't want to have, but some interesting stuff already going with the fallen, if you will, in Major League Baseball. A loaded show. Co-pilot, as always, Vegas Mack. What is going on?
Oh, my gosh. That might have been, Mike, one of the most exciting Thursday nights sports-wise that I've seen. I mean, I had everything going on. I mean, there was football, there was hockey, both pro and college. There was baseball. I didn't even touch much of the Cubs game. It was a crazy night. I mean, I think I hit them all. HBO, Hulu, ESPN, Prime, Apple TV. I don't know. I hit them all, Mike. I hit them all. I won last night. I won. I was a winner.
I was not. Hockey.
Oh my gosh.
I can't accurately re-say what I sent to you guys at 9:45 last night watching the end of the Sharks game. It looked like something that the Wallindas should have been involved with two guys miss a wide open net, and then Nikolovic, after he misses a knuckleball that goes in, then he just decides, wait, we're going to go all the way to the blue line to play the puck. Oh, shit, I'm supposed to be in goal, and the Sharks lose on opening night to the Golden Knights. I thought I had a heist last night. We're as close on Jackson Dart's completions. We got the touchdown out of Goddard. We got over the yards with A.J. Brown. Couldn't get over a quarter of a sack with Abdul Carter. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And then I had the Sharks on the money line for the chef's kiss at the end of the night. And the effing circus came to town in the final 5 minutes. Growing pains, I know. And it's going to be another one of those years. But I've said this to you guys, and we'll get to the Pacific Division. I think we're going to get to the Pacific Division on Wednesday next week. It's nice to see the Sharks have the ship going in the right direction. However, I cannot handle another year of dog shit goaltending from the Sharks. I'm going to venture to guess after Nikolovic's circus act last night that Askarov will be in net on Saturday, but that's about the extent of how you can talk about the Sharks because it'll be one of those years. But hockey's off to a banging start already, man.
Well, I was going to say, it's one of those things. I do think you're right. I think San Jose is going in the right direction. There's a couple of teams that already we kind of feel aren't really going in that direction. But hockey's off to a good start. A lot of good stuff with baseball. Like I said, last night was one of the I can't remember a Thursday night like that in a long time. In fact, that Thursday night was as good as any weekend night that we've had.
Yeah. Oh no, I think absolutely. And it's interesting. It was a great Thursday night for everybody but the city of Philadelphia. City is in history to have their NHL team lose, NFL team lose, and MLB team lose in the playoffs and be eliminated on the same day. Philadelphia yesterday and Philadelphia in 1983. That's the end of the list. Not a good night. I mean, hey, the Flyers hung around with the defending champs who, Florida should fall off here. They're 2-0. I get it. They played the Blackhawks and the Flyers. Don't at me, bro. The Phillies, yet again, fall short of expectations. We're going to get to them in a second. But let's start with the football team in Philadelphia because things do not look sunny in Philadelphia, if you will.
Oh, goodness.
There is something seriously going wrong with the Eagles right now as they lose to Bam Bam and Jax last night. The Giants get their second win of the season. Should be their third win of the season. They played like dog shit at New Orleans last week. And But 195 through the air for Jackson Dart, 98 on the ground for the human battering ram Cam Scadaboo. Wandale Robinson, 84 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. Brian Burns was a menace last night. Eagles actually put up some decent offensive numbers, but yet again, still, this is a predicted, and now we're hearing people talk about it. This is a predictable offense. You're hearing the guys on the offensive line. Petula's getting all kinds of crap right now, and I'm looking at Saquon, and we're looking at a 4-game stretch here from Saquon, 46, 43, 30, and 58. That's not the numbers you expect to see out of Saquon, but I think there's an underlying issue with this Eagles team here.
It's kind of interesting. I heard a interview yesterday with Phil Simms, and one of the questions that they asked him was about this, these player meetings, and he's like, I hated those damn things. He said, I didn't even listen to them, and again, you have to remember, who his coach was, and so he's like, I didn't have to worry. He goes, and this is where I'm going with this. He goes, I had a head coach that was going to take care of those things. And so that kind of stuck with me as I was watching that Phillies game last night, and I know you and I have had that conversation about the head coach of the Eagles and whether or not he was in over his head even last year, and of course winning a Super Bowl takes care of a lot of those things. But here we are, and really you can say what you want. I mean, up until yesterday, I really didn't think Philly played all that bad. But you have people complaining. So that tells you there's something going on in that clubhouse. And that's where the head coach needs to step in and say, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. And you're either on the ship or we'll find another ship for you. I mean, that's the way it's got to be. You can't have all this in-house fighting.
Yeah, and I mentioned it yesterday in the triple option video when we make our picks on our social channels at Mike Arana Show. I do Thursdays, Sunday mornings. Mack has Sunday night football. I've got Monday night football. So, when we dive in specifically to these matchups, the one thing that has been an issue, at least for the Eagles so far this season, was again an issue on the defensive side of the ball last night. 172 yards for Big Blue on the ground last night, 39 attempts, 4.4 yards a carry. And third down. The Eagles have had a real tough time getting off the field third down. Last night, the Giants 11 for 16 on third down. So their rushing defense has been horrible. Their third down getting off the field percentage, not great. And the Giants they looked like a well-oiled machine. And there is the Scat Jackson buzz right now is ridiculous. And remember, he's got no Malik Neighbors for the entire season. I mean, what they did last night against an Eagles team, usually the short week tends to benefit the better team. It definitely did not in this case. I think this Giants team could become kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, here's what we're going to get with this Giants team because they're so young in the key spots. You're going to get weeks like last week against the Saints. Mm-hmm. That's what you're going to get. And then you're going to get what you got last night, the complete opposite against the Eagles. And that's what's going to happen when you have a young quarterback and a young running back. And really, this is, for the most part, a pretty young team. And if you're a Giants fan, you got to be excited. I mean, there's something there. It's you're not a this year playoff team, but you definitely have some of the core pieces to kind of look and say, okay, I think we're in the right direction. I mean, how many teams right now are kind of going back through their notes and going, man, what did we miss with Jackson Dart? Mm-hmm. I mean, you really, I mean, he looked phenomenal last night. He did not look last night like a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, and you guys know this, and the people that have followed us from day one on this program, and we appreciate you. And if you're out there watching, feel free to comment along. What did you think of last night's game and what's going on with the situation in Philadelphia? But the people that have been with us long enough, and I know you and I have had this conversation, I was real high on Bo Nix going into that draft that year. I said, and I've said it on this program a couple of times, like, I think Bo Nix, my initial thought going into that draft was he was going to be the quarterback out of that group in that draft class that would have the best success long term. Obviously, Jaden Daniels has a case for the argument there. But Jackson Dart was another one of those guys that I was real high on. And a lot of people question the move, and then they bring in Russell Wilson. And, you and I talked after the show on Wednesday about the situation with Russell Wilson, and you saw it last night when he had to come on the field, throws one ground ball, Anthony Volpe style, right into the freaking rock hard turf at MetLife, gets booed off the field. Brian Dable's probably going to get fined for jerking around with the guys in the, and then Cam Scatterbo, who just doesn't give a shit, he walks over and tries to get in the tent. Also, literally the NFL before the game yesterday gave a tour of inside the blue tent, and the person that they were talking to was explaining who's allowed in there and who's not. Now you got Dable going in there going, come on, hurry up, I'll burn a timeout if I have to. But I question whether the Giants should, at this point, because there is no way in hell you're putting Russell Wilson back out there. If the Giants should have tried to move Russell Wilson to somebody that would have taken him, and obviously the most likely candidate was Cincinnati, and they've already handled that with Joe Flacco. I think, and it should end up being a good situation for Dart. He's got Winston there, and he's got Russ there. Those are two guys that have been through a lot of stuff in the league, but this Giants team has got a buzz about them right now, and this Philadelphia team, from an offensive standpoint, not only is it predictable, not only is it boring, they can't run the football. 3.4 yards a carry on the season for Saquon, 3.9 yards a carry on the season for Jalen Hurts. And if you want to get the tush-push band, run it 4 times in a row on national television. What the hell was that? Where's Tony when we need him? Butt play times 4 in a row right away for him.
Yeah, I mean, this football season's been very interesting. I think right off the bat, I mean, I'm going to put Philadelphia in a group with Kansas City and with Baltimore. 3 teams that I think a lot of people probably put a lot of money on at the beginning of the year to say these are Super Bowl teams that at this point, number one, I don't think any of them look like a Super Bowl team. And there's a couple of them that I don't even know at this point even look like a playoff team. So there's a lot of shifting and moving going on so far in this season. I think it makes for great drama. I love it.
Yeah, and for the Eagles next, they'll go to Minnesota, which isn't an easy task, especially when your offense is struggling. And then they get their second game with the Giants in Philadelphia before their bye. For the Giants, you want to talk about a Mike's Man Crush quarterback matchup, and we're going to get to this in our picks later. The Giants' next game next week is against Denver in Denver. Bo Nix, Jackson Dart. That'll be a fun one. It's obviously going to be a huge test for Dart and Scatterbo as they go on the road with that offense. But if they can get contributions from Wan'Dale Robinson like they did in their defense, I think that Giants-Broncos game has a chance with those two defenses to be pretty entertaining when the Giants are next on the field. After that, for the Giants, they're at the Eagles, and then they host the 49ers before playing the Bears. The Giants, if I remember correctly, are one of the late bye teams this year, towards the end of the season. But yeah, this Philadelphia thing is going to be interesting to watch here going through. And when your offense is predictable, and then it's predictable and you can't run a ball, that's a problem. And that would be the first play. Dallas Goedert had a great game last night, 110 yards. He's quietly having a great season. He's been really the most consistent thing on the Eagles' offense so far.
I don't understand how this team can. I mean, I understand it, but I mean, I really don't. Like, they have so many pieces. They have a really good quarterback who can get out of the pocket and run. They've got good wide receivers. They've got a good running back. They've got a great tight end. I don't understand how this team can be so predictable. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, it seems like they should be. It seems like they should be able to spread that ball. I mean, you look at some other teams. I mean, you look at even Kansas City. I know I said they weren't playing all that good, but Mahomes has done a great job with no running game at all of distributing the ball out. And I don't know. I just there's something. It's again, you start to look at it, and it's not so much the players. I think you start looking at pointing fingers at the coaching staff. What's going on with the coaching staff and their game planning?
I pulled a Mack right there. When you look at it, they're spreading the ball around on offense, but, allegedly that meeting took place between Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown. And Hurts and Barkley both said it happened, and then they talked to A.J. Brown about it after the game last night, and he just gave the, I don't know what you're talking about, like, it didn't happen. What are you talking about? When you look at this, though, Devontae Smith has been targeted 35 times. He's got 29 receptions. Dallas Goedert's been targeted 33 times. He's got 24 receptions and 5 touchdowns. So Goddard, Brown, and Smith are all averaging over 10 yards of reception. But when I look at the targets to the receptions for A.J. Brown, he's been targeted 45 times with only 25 receptions. And A.J. Brown gets a lot of the attention. He's usually drawing cornerback number 1 for most teams. But that's 20 times they've targeted Brown that they haven't been able to hook up. And those are the numbers when you look inside the numbers that can be a little alarming for them and would be a case of concern going forward. So we'll get to more of our NFL stuff here at the end when we make some picks. I've got some work to do to catch up with Mack from our first Friday edition of the Straight Up Pick'em. But let's go into Major League Baseball, and let's just continue to beat on the city of Philadelphia, I guess. The Phillies last night on a play that I think anybody that's ever played at any kind of, higher level, I know you spent some time in your college days as a catcher, so you can sympathize with this especially. But the error from Orion Kerkering last night, and that was a rough way to see that end. I can understand the play, especially in that moment. So many things happening, and he had a little too much on it and sailed it, and the Dodgers move on to the League Championship Series, and they're going to have 3 days off and a chance to set that rotation that has been the best in baseball since September 1st.
Well, yeah, let's break that play down just a little bit. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, one, 2 outs, so you know that there's a force at any base. Number 2, because there's 2 outs, as soon as the ball's hit, all the runners are in motion. So that guy from third, he's busting down the line. That's a for sure. As soon as there's a bobble of any sort, you've got to. The rule of thumb is if there's a bobble, you make the play to first. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's just kind of the logical play, because if you watch the play, JT Realmuto is on the first base side of home plate. That's not where you're going to be if you're looking to receive a ball. He would be more like a first baseman at that point. If he thought he was going to get the ball, he would have been more like a first baseman. He would have been out in front of the plate, and he would have been extended. He was flat-footed, left foot on the right corner of home plate. That ball was over. I mean, you could tell he was not expecting the ball at all. I think from just my experience, I mean, if it would have been me, I wouldn't even have been near home plate. I would have been out in front of the plate, and I would have been yelling to him, first base, 1-1-1-1. Like, that's the play. He had the guy at first base. He would have had that out at first. But there was just so much indecision once he bobbled it. I don't even think unfortunately, he didn't even make a good throw. It wasn't a good throw to home plate, but I don't even think if he made a good throw, he gets the guy. That guy from home, he was coming on contact. There was no way you were getting that guy at home plate once that bobble was made. So, that's a tough play. Great job by Philadelphia, getting around him, kind of putting a hand on him. Again, he's going to be the scapegoat of the series. They're going to say, this is the reason why you lost. It's not the reason why you lost. You lost the series because you didn't win a game at home. That's why you didn't win the series, and your top guys didn't get hits. But that's just the way that it is. But that was they had chances. They just they could do anything in that Dodgers bullpen yesterday at all. Dodgers bullpen was locked down.
Yeah, and that's the scariest proposition, and why we talked about it, and we thought there was a good chance we could see another Dodger-Yankee World Series, which obviously we know we're not going to. We'll get to the Yankees in a second because there's a lot of meat on that bone as well. But now the Phillies go into the offseason with a lot of questions, and this Philadelphia core has been through 3 years of postseason, same old. And we know it's not going to stay the same. I think the one guy that does come back, and if you saw the interview with Kyle Schwarber after the game last night, that was a hard one to watch. You could tell he is understanding the real possibility that maybe he does not return. I think the Phillies bring Schwarber back, but it's the rest of the guys that I don't think are going to have the same case. I think Ranger Suarez gets a good look at being brought back by them, especially if Zach Wheeler isn't able to come back early in the year. I think the biggest thing we see without a doubt, and I mentioned this the other day, is I think we've seen the end of Nick Castellanos' days in Philadelphia. The problem is they're going to have to eat most of that to get rid of that contract because nobody's going to take $20 million of that. I think it's one of those moves that you just have to go, hey, it is what it is. When they got Harrison Bader and, brought him in and Castellanos saw some of his playing time go down, he wasn't happy. He's chirped plenty of times this year about, playing in the city of Philadelphia and critiquing Rob Thompson for taking him out. I think there's no scenario in my head where I see Nick Castellanos returning to the Phillies next year. And I also think we're going to see the Phillies kind of take a look at this infield a little bit too. I think Alec Boehm, we heard you. I remember exactly when we were previewing the Phillies. I said I thought Boehm could be one of those guys that has a monster friggin' year. He didn't, and I think that's another guy that they could look at maybe trying to move. But there's a lot of questions here for this Philadelphia team, and you can't roll it back out with the same group. You just can't.
No, I will agree. I mean, I think their A1 priority from an offensive standpoint is going to bring Schwarber back. They're going to need to replace some of the outfield. I mean, I don't think Kepler or Bader are going to be back. I don't think, like you said, Castellanos. I mean, so you're going to have to fill that outfield with something out there. Remember last year, one of the teams that was really, really high on Alex Bregman, who potentially could be a free agent, was the Phillies. So I think that would be an interesting look to see if they would circle back on Alex Bregman. And also JT Realmuto, their catching spot, he's up there in years. Also their bullpen. I mean, they're going to have to basically put their bullpen back together. Again, they're going to lose probably a couple of those guys out of the bullpen as well. So listen, you got the guy in the front office and Dombrowski who's not afraid to make moves and do and sign guys. He's not afraid to get rid of young guys to bring in veteran guys. But I don't think, from what we've seen in these 3 years, this team is October enough. That's all I can say. They're not October enough, and they've proven that. They haven't got it done when the time matters. And as I was gonna say, you're starting to see a little bit of a shift too. As I was looking at this, we love the home runs. We all know that. But you're starting to see a shift away from that. Look at some of these teams that are successful. I'm going to use Toronto as an example. Toronto's not a team that hits a lot of home runs. Toronto's a team that puts the ball in play. What's another team that does that? The Milwaukee Brewers. What's another team that does that? Those two, they've had successful seasons because do they hit home runs? Yeah, it's not their main weapon. And you're starting to see, because all these arms are power arms, it's 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, it's cutters, it's sinkers. You're starting to see teams kind of go back, I think, a little bit to, we need guys that put the ball in play, not just, that was the big thing with the Red Sox. The Red Sox fortunes changed because they couldn't put the ball in play. They strike out too much. Teams are starting to shift a little bit.
I think in the case of Harrison Bader, I can see him coming back. And I know you and I talked about this the other day off camera, but the Bader injury really kind of sucked for me, because I thought Harrison Bader had a chance in this postseason to be one of those guys that just turns into one of those Philadelphia cult heroes for how he performs in the playoffs. He's just kind of got that big flashy play ability. When the lights are bright, he tends to get out there. I mean, you saw Thompson in game 2 use him as a pinch hitter, and they knew using him they were going to have to pull him because he couldn't run because of the groin injury. But Thompson went right to him because he needed a hit in that situation, and Bader got it done. That is a mutual option on Bader. You mentioned the bullpen, Jose Alvarado. They have a club option on him. I think JT Realmuto is a guy that probably doesn't come back. I'm not saying that I don't think the Phillies want him back, but I think there's a lot of teams out there specifically that are going to look to add a veteran catcher who can still swing a good bat. He still runs the bases extremely well for a catcher. Teams like the Giants, one of the big things Buster Posey has to look at for the Giants, not only in their pitching staff makeup going into next year, we assume the offense is in pretty good shape, but we've seen rumors already that the Giants and the Orioles, could potentially make an Adley Rutschman kind of move. I could see the Giants bringing in a JT Realmuto because Patrick Bailey behind the plate for the Giants is fantastic. He can't hit his way out of a wet paper bag if you dropped him in McCovey Cove, and that's the problem. Now, most teams don't have a good hitting catcher. You got the guy back there to play defense for the most part. But when you can get run production out of a catcher, which is something that JT Realmuto has done, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be interested in his services, especially as a veteran later in his career.
They might be a team that wears pinstripes that would really like. I mean, he really would. He'd be a really good fit in New York for the Yankees. They could use a right-handed hitting catcher, And as far as Suarez go, I know you mentioned him. I look at his age and what he does. You have to look at the contracts that both Max Fried and Carlos Rodon got, a 5 or 6 year deal. That's kind of where I think Suarez is going to fall. So it'll be interesting to see if Philly's going to put, again, that much money into another pitcher.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens there. Speaking of the Yankees, the captain of the Yankees, and I'm not talking about Aaron Judge. If you saw hall passes this morning, Brian Cashman and Aaron Judge are on TJ's hall pass list. And Derek Jeter had some very interesting comments the other day after the Yankees lost that he doesn't believe that the decisions are being made entirely from the dugout, specifically calling out Brian Cashman without directly calling out Brian Cashman. And Aaron Boone gets a lot of the shit that he brings on himself because of the way he is. But there's so many people looking squarely at Aaron Boone. The Yankees need a new guy buying the groceries, or they need to shop at a different store this offseason, because that team, as TJ pointed out this morning, around Aaron Judge is not a team capable of winning a World Series. And we saw that there. We ranted and we raved about the Yankees' run differential, their bats, the home runs, everything. They got absolutely dominated by the Blue Jays. They got out-homered by the Blue Jays. They got out-hit. They got out-situationally played. They got dominated by the Blue Jays in that series.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who watched a lot of Yankee games this year, I mean, base running was horrible. They were like the Red Sox running the bases. A lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, and those are two things that you just. You can't blame Boone for those things. I mean, he's not out there catching the ball and throwing the ball, and he's not out there running the bases. Those aren't his things. Again, like I just said, the Yankees are a home run team. They live and die because right field is only like 200 feet out there. They hit a lot of home runs out to right field. I'm joking, but I mean, they're just. That's how
you're not, though.
I'm not joking. I'm not. It is, but that's how they get their runs. They're a home run team. They're not a team that strings together, 5, 6, 7 hits. They don't go first to third very well. They don't run the bases in well. And so that's when you get into these series, when you're facing 1 and 2 and maybe 3 in a rotation, you've got to, again, example, Brewers, Blue Jays, what do? They put the ball in play. Now, I'm not saying they're getting hits, but they're not striking out. They're putting the ball in play, making teams make mistakes, and moving people over and creating runs like that. Again, that's how those teams are successful. So it's going to be very interesting. You have to remember, Aaron Judge isn't he's not an old guy, but he's not a young guy either. Both him and Cole are going to be in their mid-30s. And you got Cole coming back from Tommy John. We just don't know how that's going to be. I hate to say this about a young guy. Jason Dominguez was an absolute disaster this year for the Yankees. I mean, with all the hype there, and and Anthony Volpe, he struggled. I mean, it's there's still some Jeter shoes out there that people think have to be filled, and that's just a tough spot in New York to be, but. You're right. There's a lot of holes on this Yankees team that needs to be filled. I think, again, their number one priority, I think, is signing Bellinger. He's a good Yankee. I mean, he looks the part. I think the other big one for them is Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver did a really good job. I know he stunk in the playoffs, but he really held that bullpen together for a long time during the season. So I think for the Yankees, those are two of their own free agents that I think they would look at.
Yeah, and the thing with Weaver too is, yeah, he wasn't good this year in the postseason, but last year he was the anchor of them in the postseason when it came to the bullpen. I think that the Bellinger thing obviously is important, and New York, I think, will do everything that they can to re-sign him. But you're talking like for the Yanks to re-sign him, they're probably going to have to go to that buck and a quarter, somewhere between a buck and a quarter and a buck 75 on the deal, because I think Bellinger easily on the free agent market gets $100 million from somebody. It's the
Yeah.
Yankees doing what the Yankees typically do. I think Paul Goldschmidt doesn't return to the Yankees because of what we've seen, out of Ben Rice and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I honestly think Paul Goldschmidt's due to head back to Arizona. I think
I,
that's
that's
where he ends up.
that's why I had
Um,
my fingers crossed. I think that would be a perfect scenario for Goldie. I mean, I
yeah,
really
and,
do.
and and for Goldie to come back, it's I think obviously the fans in Arizona would love it. The fans in Arizona gravitate and tend to like when one of their guys goes on somewhere else, they could come back on the downside of their career and be a shell of what they used to be, and they're Arizona heroes. And Paul Goldschmidt's one of those guys.
Look
Uh,
at Calais Campbell.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fountain of Youth, Calais Campbell this year.
Right.
And the other thing too is the Diamondbacks. I don't think they got enough look at Tyler Locklear, the guy they got from the Mariners to play first base because he got hurt pretty quickly. I think Devin Williams is another interesting thing for the Yankees. I think they do re-sign him, but that obviously
Ooh.
wasn't the smoothest transition into things this year. He had kind of a rough year for the Yanks. David Bednar was the piece in that end of the year kind of situation that was solid there, but like and I think in Billy V checking in here, and I think this is another good one. Pete Alonso is going to obviously draw the attention of a lot of people.
Mhm.
I mentioned I thought yesterday that he'd be or on Wednesday, a fantastic fit for the Reds. I know, obviously Boston, that situation at first base as well. It's gonna be interesting to see, and I think we're gonna hear this again. We saw going into the year, and we talked about this specifically when Garrett Cole got hurt. The Yankees are gonna go do something. The Yankees are gonna go do something. Obviously, they didn't to replace Cole, and Schlittler was good and stuff like that. I think we're gonna hear a whole offseason of the Yankees and Sandy Alcantara again. And if you're the Marlins, I mean, I know you were close, but how close are you really? And the haul that you can get for Sandy Alcantara, like I think the Yankees have to make that kind of move when it comes to the pitching staff. And I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, Aaron Boone brings a lot of the shit on himself because of the constant facial expressions and complaining from the dugout. And I get it when your team loses and Yankees fans are tired of not having a World Series because it's been so long. But we're watching a couple of teams in the postseason here still. I mean, we could have a Brewers Mariners World Series. Somebody will get their first one, so nobody feels sad about the Yankees still being at 27
Right.
championships. But it's going to be an interesting offseason, but I don't think the finger needs to be pointed at Aaron Boone. It needs to be pointed at the guy who's building this baseball team, who seemingly just gets away with everything in New York all the time. That was a bad baseball team that Brian Cashman put on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to the rotation just for a second. I don't know. I don't know that Devin Williams is going to be back. I think that was just that was cringy the whole year long. It just didn't work for him in New York, especially with Bednar being still there. As far as the Yankees getting a starting pitcher, their rotation's not bad. I mean, Cole's going to come back. You just don't know there. I mean, you've got Max Fried, Luis Hill. You've got Carlos Rondon, Schlittler. You got
Watch your
who's
mouth.
I know, and Will Warren. I don't think the Yankees. I mean, you could always use starting pitching. I mean, we know that, but
Hmm.
I think they have. I think they have quite a few other holes that they need to fill, and I don't think starting pitching is probably their A1 priority. Um, I I I think they need some. Bellinger would be a good start. Obviously, that would be a good start for them. I don't know where else they go from an offensive standpoint. I mean, I obviously Alonso would make sense. But
Can
I
you
don't think that.
imagine the Mets fans if Cashman pulls Alonso from them? Oh my
Yeah, I know.
God.
I know. I mean, I don't. I mean, I like Rice. Out of all those young players, I like Rice. I don't know that I'd
Hmm.
put him behind the plate though. I like him at first base. I just think it keeps him healthier. So that's kind of my solution for first base. But the Yankee. I mean, I don't think Grissom will be back. He's another one. He was a good piece for the Yankees, but I don't think he'll be back either. So I think they need some outfield. They need a different type of player. They see Alonso. He just fits into that home run mode. The Yankees don't need that. They have that. I think they need to go in a different direction.
This is a good one here too because I know Yankee fans have been waiting for that one. When Lombardi gets his time, and it very well might be next year. But I'm not going to sit here and listen to people point the finger at Aaron Boone because again, he's not the one putting that team on the field. So tonight we've got Seattle and Detroit, winner take all, and advances to the league championship series against the Blue Jays, which will start on Sunday night. On Monday, we'll have an ALCS and an NLCS. ALCS Game 2, NLCS Game 1, as Major League Baseball just dropped those times in that series. But it's going to be a fun one tonight in Seattle. It's going to be rocking up there. We've talked about the vibe of the city in general right now with the Seahawks start to the season. George Kirby and Tarek Skubal tonight. Again, and the winner goes on to Toronto here. The Mariners have been, and you mentioned this the other day, the Mariners have been the one team that can kind of get to Skubal enough to get the job done. Obviously, in a game 5, everybody's tense, everybody's tight. It's going to be interesting to see how both of these managers handled tonight and what you're going to see because it's an all hands on deck game, and I can't wait till 5 o'clock tonight on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm kind of torn in this one. I like Dan Wilson. I think he's a really good manager. I like. I still have some friends who play and coach in the Mariners organization. So I mean, we used to live, closer to their facility. Used to be down there all the time. So I kind of had that little inkling of Mariner in me. But Detroit's been that team that I've kind of been behind all year, and I really like them. So this is a tough one. I, for me, I mean, I know they've beaten Skubal a couple of times already, and I said it again, it's will they be able to beat him a third time? I mean, again, they didn't blow him out. They were really really close games. Um, Seattle seems like they've pushed all the right buttons so far this year. It seems like they've won when they've needed to win. Let's just put it that way. And this is going to be a tough one. This is an absolute coin flip in my head and in my heart for this game.
Yeah, 27 outs away from moving to the league championship series, and it's going to be a fun one. I would definitely anticipate a low scoring total tonight, which just intensifies the height of what's going on there as well. We've got another game 5 that'll take place on Saturday, and that is the Cubs in Milwaukee to take on the Brewers, 5 o'clock. Again, winner take all. No announced starters yet by either team. I'm guessing that we're going to see more than likely, I'm thinking that we see Quintana, veteran guy, he's got some experience, won't get rattled easy. When it comes to the Cubs, I think that's more of an interesting decision for the Cubs in who they could roll out there. And again, it's all hands on deck. The obvious answer to that question for the Cubs would be Shota Imanaga, since he started game 2, but he hasn't pitched well basically since kind of past the All-Star break second half. It's been a little rough there. I mean, Colin Ray is an option. Colin Ray had a pretty solid season for him. Mm-hmm. But again, it's a game 5 and with these two managers specifically, really interested to see the chess match between Murph and Counsell tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. If you love baseball, if you like baseball, I mean, this is one to watch because the wheels are already turning. I mean, they're already turning, trying to figure out, okay, what is our bullpen going to look like? What matchups do we have? Where do we have our advantage? I mean, here's where we just talked about the Yankees and Boone and analytics. Here's where the analytics do come into play, where you can kind of see ahead of time, who's our best reliever in this situation. It's going to be very interesting to see. Like I said, The Brewers a little bit more than the Cubs manufacture runs, but Council can still do it. So this is a great matchup from, I mean, just about every perspective, from the manager's perspective, from the player's perspective. I mean, we're really lucky. We've got two exciting game fives on our hands. This is going to be a lot of fun for baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the advantage when we go back to the American League game tonight, let's say the Tigers were to advance, that puts the Tigers in position to start Tarek Skubal in game 3 and game 7 of the LCS on basically normal rest time. So a huge advantage to Detroit if they can get that. But again, we've talked about it. The problem with Detroit is not Tarek Skubal, it's the guys who follow Tarek Skubal in there. So let's try and call our shots here. We know two of the participants in the LCS is the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. If I had to ask you right now, going into a couple of game fives with two teams sitting and waiting, who is the World Series matchup in your eyes?
The World Series matchup in my eyes is the Milwaukee Brewers and the Detroit Tigers.
Oh,
And again, that's a me thing. I mean, I was on both those teams at spring training. I like both of them. If you really, really look at it, they've been two of the best teams all year from a record wise and just the way that they played. They really have. They've really played well all year. I think that would be a really fun World Series, Milwaukee and Detroit.
yeah. I think we've got combinations of all the possible combinations. I think they're all fascinating to me.
There's a
The
lot.
Shohei Ohtani against the Blue Jays situation, because of allegedly how close he was to being a Blue Jay, I think would be fascinating. I think that would be a tremendous World Series matchup. I don't think, you know, I don't think we have a bad matchup here. I think whatever combination we get to, I'd love to see. Again, we've talked about this. Seattle and Toronto in the ALCS would be fascinating because of the way the Blue Jays fans try and take over T-Mobile Park all the time. And obviously the longer that the Jays go, the better chance we have of getting Bo Bichette back. He was jogging in the outfield at Yankee Stadium. They're hoping he can return. I think that's the biggest hanging question with what's left from everybody that's still standing for me is when Bo Bichette comes back. And if they think he could be back, that's a roster spot that you're giving up in the LCS that is kind of valuable at that point. So it's going to be interesting to see if they even put him on the LCS roster.
Here's one for you. We didn't really talk about, but can you imagine this as a World Series? Detroit and Chicago. Well, the Midwest would blow up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, can you? But that would. I mean, if you think about it, those two cities, those two franchises. You know, it's October. You know, the weather is going to be just absolutely miserable in both those places. I mean, that would be quite the matchup. You know, I mean, again, if we're just kind of putting them around, that would be a fun. I mean, like I think you hit it though. I don't know that there's really one matchup that's kind of. Well, there is one. I'm not going to say it that I think some people would kind of sleep on, but I think most of them are pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we've got two game fives. You can't ask for anything better. And then we're going to get into these LCSs Sunday and Monday. Both leagues will be in play. So plenty of stuff to watch. It's going to be a weird baseball offseason. You know, you and I were talking the other day, just trying to remember all the managerial openings that were available. Right. And then we're like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. Kurt Suzuki sounds like he's getting a solid look from the Braves right now. That'd be an interesting hire for a team that, you know, assuming they can get back healthy, is still one of the more feared teams in the National League, assuming that they can be healthy. But they're going to get some guys back at the beginning of next season, but they're also going to get a couple of guys back late in the season. So I think that's an interesting one to follow as well. So a couple of game fives, first one tonight, second one tomorrow. And that'll go into tomorrow's slate of sports, which is absolutely loaded from a college football standpoint. A lot of big games, as we've kind of highlighted this week. One of the biggest ones that we haven't totally gotten into yet is up in Autzen Stadium, where College Game Day is. Indiana and Oregon. Oregon, a 7.5-point favorite right now. I think this game is going to be really, really fascinating. And Indiana, again, is trying to show they have staying power, and there'd be no better way to show you have staying power than to go into Autzen and beat the Ducks. But that being said, that ain't easy to do. That place rocks as good as any building in all of college football. I'm really interested to see this matchup, though, with these two quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore.
Yeah, this is another time, and we've said it for a couple of teams, but this is a time where Indiana has to show that they're for real because people still don't believe them. They think that last year was kind of a fluke. They when they really needed to win games, they didn't. And so again, here it is, a new season, new players. This is an opportunity now for Indiana to say, we were good at basketball once, but now we're a football school. But this is a huge get if they can do it. Beating Oregon at home is one thing. Beating them on the road would be an absolute another thing. So this is this one you got to circle. You got to have this one on your main TV sometime tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and I like where it sits on the schedule tomorrow because it's the 12:30 kickoff out on the West Coast here. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be. I don't see how this isn't just a fantastic game top to bottom. Oregon was supposed to take a quote step back this year under Dante Moore, and they clearly haven't done that. And again, I've said it a few times. I've said it almost ad nauseum, man. Like this Oregon defense is violent. They're fast. They get all over the field. Mateo Uiagalelei has been just an absolute freaking havoc wrecker. 13 solo tackles, 16 total tackles, 97 pass rushes into 17 pressures and a team high 4 sacks. Their defense really starts with him. But the secondary for Oregon is elite. They're fast. They're all interchangeable. And I think that's where the interesting matchup is in this game for me. And from a betting standpoint, there are a few places as I'm looking at this now, you can still find Oregon at a -7. A lot of the books have them at -7.5. Obviously, as we talk about key numbers and stuff like that, the total on this game, 54.5. And I'll have some more thoughts on it specifically tomorrow, but why don't you give me your thoughts on how this one plays out and pick a winner?
Man, I think I can see Oregon from a defensive standpoint. I mean, Indiana's going to have a really good game plan, and they do. They're really balanced. They run the ball, they throw the ball. I just can't see them going into Oregon and winning. So I'm going to take the Ducks. I think it's going to be close. I would take it. I would take the points if you're going to give me 7 or 7.5 points. I'd take the 7.5 points or the 7 points because I think this is going to be a close game. I can see this one being a field goal ending to this game. I think these two teams are that close.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a crazy scene up there. And obviously this game, as we get closer and closer to the official CFP rankings coming out, which I think we're about a little less than a month from those coming out, is going to this game's going to have a lot to do with how that lays itself out. Mm-hmm. Interesting news that we got yesterday that kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. Arizona State, as we talked about, is at Utah this weekend. And a game that's going to have a lot to do with the Big 12 standings, especially as it seems like Arizona State's starting to get their swagger back. But they're going to have to do it as without Sam Leavitt. It would be a mini miracle, according to Kenny Dillingham, if Sam Leavitt plays this week, which means that Jeff Sims will be the quarterback for the Sun Devils in that game. And it's already tough to play at Rice-Eccles, Mack, as we well know. But now you're going to do it. And Jeff Sims is a veteran. He's been around. It's not like he's, a redshirt freshman making his first start on the road here. He's got some experience. Interested to see how that plays into this game. Definitely has me leaning towards the under total in this game also.
I will give you a couple of quotes from my son yesterday on our phone conversation. The first one is, what the hell were they doing in practice that all these guys got hurt? That's what he wants to know. That's the first thing. The second thing is about the quarterback, Sims. He's like, do you remember how great he played against Cincinnati last year? There's no way in hell that Arizona wins this game. That's a direct quote from my son in his analysis of this.
I'll have a talk with that kid again.
Oh my gosh, he was so upset. He's like, "What's going on? Why is he hurt?" I mean, obviously it's a big blow for ASU. I mean, I think this completely changes everything in this game. I mean, I really thought, like you said, ASU had been playing very well. I really thought this is a game they can win. I don't think without their number one quarterback, this is going to be something they're going to be able to handle at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And again, a loaded day tomorrow. It starts, actually, for us, it starts tonight. The Big Mac kickoff game, Ohio State and Illinois. That'll kick off at 9 o'clock on the West Coast, as will Alabama and Mizzou, Pitt and Florida State. And then Washington State will be at Ole Miss. That's kind of your early wave window of your top 25 teams. And then in that middle of the day wave, Indiana, Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas, Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech, NC State, Notre Dame, Iowa State at Colorado. Interested to see how the Cyclones bounce back in that one. And then we get to the later part of the evening. We've got Georgia, Auburn, Michigan, USC, which will be the TJ After Dark game, Kansas and Texas Tech, South Carolina and LSU. South Carolina has a chance to really do some damage, especially with their freaking loaded schedule. If you haven't seen it, it's been floating around a lot this week. At number 11 LSU this weekend. Then they have number 6 Oklahoma, number 8 Alabama. Then they're at Ole Miss. Then they're at Texas A&M. I don't know what Shane Beamer did to piss somebody off, but that is freaking brutal. And Josh Pate brought this up on his X account the other day, and it got me thinking about it. How does South Carolina end up every single season with like a 5 or 6 game stretch in a row that's exactly like this? I mean, you're talking about in your next 5 games, you're playing 5 teams in the top 11 in the country.
Well, the good thing is there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Their last 2 games against Coastal and Clemson. I mean, so if you want to look at it big picture wise, there's that. But yeah, man, oh man. I mean, we've talked to, I mean, obviously if you're in the SEC, there at some point you're going to run through a gauntlet of teams. But holy cow, and 3 of those 5 are on the road as well. I mean, luckily they get Oklahoma and Alabama at home. Good luck.
Couple other games. I mean, we mentioned late night as far as the top 25 goes. Arizona State and Utah. That's a 7:15 kickoff from Rice Eccles. So crowd will be buzzing for that one. Also, 5 o'clock down in Tucson. Another impactful game in the Big 12 is BYU travels to take on the 4-1 Arizona Wildcats. That's going to be an interesting one. Again, we mentioned it the other day. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this BYU team because, the Retzlaff situation threw everybody off, but Bachmeier has been fantastic for him, and you can tell he's really starting to get comfortable now, and he missed all of early ball. So right. I think that's kind of why they were forgotten about. Again, if you have not seen Isaiah Glasker, the linebacker, play for BYU, turn that freaking game on Saturday night. The guy is like Fred Warner reincarnated, ironically, at the same university.
Here's the thing. Some people have been throwing some shade at BYU because, look at their record. The teams that they've played.
Bachmeier, but it's close to Brockmeier. You guys checking in.
The teams they played are combined 9-19. Only one of them has a winning record. None of them are in the top 60, and so all this, that. But listen, that's perfect scenario for BYU with their freshman quarterback. I mean, you could ask for a better thing. You get him 4 or 5 games and accustomed to what they would need to do. Like you said, he missed most of the beginning of the season in spring. So, this is a good spot for them. The other thing we need to remember, and you know this because you probably are getting the updates, weather is definitely going to be a factor in this game. There's supposed to be a lot of rain in the forecast, and so that could definitely be an issue. Neither of these teams have great running games, and if it's raining as much as they say it is, that kind of hurts the passing game a little bit. So this could be that could even things out for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I haven't checked in with my dad yet. He lives on the southern part of the state, down towards where that game is going to be played. I know up here. And just looking out the studio window here, I mean, it's ugly flash flood warnings, supposed to rain up on this side, and we're, give or take about 2.5 hours north of Tucson where I'm at. But yeah, the weather in Arizona has not been pleasant as of late. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Let's move over, Mac, to the NFL. We've got an interesting slate this weekend. If I can click the right button, there we go. There's your setup for week 6. In the NFL, obviously, the Thursday night game in the books that went to the Giants. We've got another game in London between the Broncos and the Jets. And then we've got some sneaky good games on this schedule here. Why don't you update the fine folks watching along at where we're at in our straight up, no points, just picking winners. Or in my case, the first week we did this, picking a lot of losers. Give us a standings update before we get into these games.
You went 7-8. I went 12-3.
God, I went worse than Jeff Fisher's standard.
Man, tell you, I know.
You went 12-3.
Well,
you are. I clicked the wrong button. Sorry, I made
that's okay. I went out on a limb on a couple of those. I mean, I took that week. I took New England, and remember, I also took Jacksonville to beat San Francisco. I don't think you had that one on your radar.
No,
so that kind of hurt. That was a couple of the big swing games in there.
Yeah, when you turn the damn ball over like freaking Sarah Lee, that'll lead you to a lot of losses in the NFL. So let's jump into it. From Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England, the 3-2 Broncos and the 0-5 Jets. This will be an interesting one because I think the Broncos, coming off of that win in Philadelphia, their offense looked good. It was going to be one of those low-scoring games. Sean Payton is Sean Payton. He goes for the 2-point conversion without any hesitation, and they get out of Philly with a win. This is a dangerous game because you're going across to London, as are the Jets. But do we really think the Jets have a chance against this Denver defense? I would venture to guess no. I am going to lean on the Broncos starting to get some things rolling here.
Yeah, these games are always a little bit weird. Teams are, finding out how to get over there. I know the Jets have been over there for about a week already. So it'd be interesting. But listen, the Jets aren't good. I mean, let's just be honest. I like Denver in this game.
All right, next one is in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Cardinals and that dumpster fire heads to Indy to take on the 4-1 Colts. I think this is a game where we're looking at a potential for an absolute ass-kicking here. I know some people still not totally in on the Colts. It's more for me on the disaster that's happening with this Cardinals team, and they've got no running game. They struggle to stop the run. Jonathan Taylor, looking at an Offensive Player of the Year kind of situation here with him. He is one of the favorites for Offensive Player of the Year. And Daniel Jones still, as we sit here 5 games into the season, Mack, 1,290 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. And that's just what he's done with his arm, let alone what he's done with his legs. I think this is a massive mismatch, and this Cardinal situation is going to keep getting worse before it gets better. Colts all day long.
Yeah, what we have here is a situation where we have two teams going in opposite directions. I think the Colts continue to climb. The Cardinals just continue to go in the opposite direction. I mean, one thing we know, we watch the Cardinals or listen and hear about them quite a bit, but the Cardinals historically are terrible on the road, especially going anywhere east of, anywhere. They're terrible on the road. Colts all day in this one.
All right, we go to Hard Rock Stadium for the next one. The shine is dulled on the Chargers, everybody's flavor of the week through 3 weeks. They're now 3-2, taking on the 1-4 Dolphins, and this is an interesting spot, going all the way across the country, early kickoff. We know the stats and the rules and everything, but then we have the Miami Dolphins and their incoherent coach, TJ's favorite guy, Mike McDaniel. I think this is a tricky spot for the Chargers here, and the Chargers are dealing with some plug-and-play stuff on their offensive line. Obviously, their defense has been fantastic, should make life kind of difficult for the Dolphins. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and catch the Chargers in their 3rd loss in a row and take the Dolphins with Miami Mike.
Goodness gracious!
To death, and you got to win the games, but you have to play the games to win the games. And Mike, you said nothing that made any sense there. What?
I know. I actually think Miami's got a chance in this game. I actually like the way the Dolphins play at home, even though I know the Patriots beat them. I think it makes a little bit of difference. So I was actually leaning towards Miami in this game as well.
Damn you! I thought that was going to be one spot I could gain advantage on you. The Caesars Superdome for Drake May and Spencer Rattler, the Patriots and the Saints. Saints coming off of their first win against the Giants, where their defense forced all kinds of turnovers from the Giants. Now, how did they bounce back? The Patriots team coming off the big win at Buffalo. Maybe they ride their high. Maybe they watch their press clippings. Maybe the Saints are just that bad. I don't know how convinced I am that New England has really figured out this offense with Drake May and when are we going to see more Travion Henderson? Fumble problems for Stevenson. It's kind of an interesting spot here, and it's a classic spot where I could see a letdown game from the Patriots. I'm going to take the Saints at home to get their second win of the season.
All right. Well, I like Vrabel. I like what he's doing with this team. I think what they did the other night up in Buffalo just shows you how good this team actually can be. I mean, there's a lot of you know how these New England people are. The Red Sox are done now. Celtics are kind of being swept under the rug a little bit. You got the Bruins and the Patriots. The Patriots are everyone's favorite. That win in Buffalo and the win in Miami. Now, this is a team. Remember, the Patriots, they got 2 big road wins. I don't think there's a way there's a letdown. Vrabel doesn't let it happen. Patriots in this game. Saints, again, they're not good. It doesn't matter. I think Patriots in this game, and I think big, too.
Oh, he's calling for the Patriots blowout in New Orleans. All right. That's fine. I'll get one on you there. Next one, Browns and Steelers from the ketchup bottle. Don't at me. It's the ketchup bottle. It'll always be the ketchup bottle. And now Pittsburgh has a chance here to grab a stranglehold of this division, which will be interesting. Mike Tomlin against Cleveland. There's some interesting stuff backing this here. Shedeur Sanders, since everybody seems to talk about backup quarterbacks, he is now backup quarterback.
Yay.
He's quarterback 2 now, so let's all talk about that instead of what's actually happening. No, we're going to talk about what's actually happening. Dylan Gabriel's going to get a chance to go up against the Steelers defense. Mike Tomlin off of a bye week, 14-4, including an 8-0 record in home games after a bye since 2017. This is a weird spot for the Steelers, but a great chance for the Steelers to take advantage of the Ravens situation, get a divisional win here. There's no way in hell I'm betting against Mike Tomlin, especially doing it taking the Browns and Dylan Gabriel against that Steelers defense. I think this is the blowout spot of the weekend for me. Steelers huge.
I
heard that snicker.
Yeah, there's a lot of snicker. This one scares me. I really like the way the Browns played last week. I thought they played really, really well. And I know, I said it. Here we go. I'm on my Cleveland bandwagon again. This one actually scares me a little bit as a Steelers fan. These games are always just kind of bizarre and whatnot. The Browns, love to go into Pittsburgh and just, rip helmets off of quarterbacks. And, it worries me.
Let it go, man.
It worries me that we the old guys back there, it's one hit and we're done. I'm not going to go against Pittsburgh in this one. I think they win, but I think it's going to be a field goal special.
The Rico Dowdle Bowl at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, sees the Cowboys traveling to play the Panthers. Dak Prescott, man, we give him a lot of shit. The dude's having an MVP kind of season. The problem is the Cowboys aren't very good. 1,356 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 3 picks here. I think this game is actually kind of a sneaky good game candidate between 2 not great football teams here. I think Carolina's starting to kind of get a rhythm offensively, and Rico Dowdle coming off of the huge game last week and getting a chance to play against his former team. I'm going to take the Panthers at home in the upset here because I think they're going to move the ball on Dallas's defense. Obviously, Dowdle wants to have a huge game. He's made a couple of comments that have made him a target this week. I just don't trust this Cowboys team, especially on the road.
Yeah, I don't either. But you know what? This week I've talked Cleveland Browns. I've agreed with A-Rod. So how about them Cowboys? I'll take Dallas.
Oh, jeez.
That's a trifecta right there.
You're gonna need to see a specialist after this week. Let's go to Duval for the 4-1 Jaguars. Off of a big Monday night win, they get the Seattle Seahawks coming across the country to take them on. A lot of injury issues for the Seahawks, especially on the defensive side of the football. Questionable: Derek Hall, Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, Ernest Jones. That's basically 5 defensive starters right there. They're all questionable. Shoulder, hamstring, knee, concussion, and oblique. For the Jaguars, we know about the Bretton Strange thing. We talked about this the other day. I'm interested to see if Thomas and Trevor Lawrence can get on the same page here. I see this as a spot, especially because of how damn good Mike Macdonald's been as the head coach of the Seahawks on the road, that I do like the Seahawks here to bounce back after losing that tough one last week to Tampa. I've got the Hawks on the road, and they're not plus money underdogs, which sucks. But I mean, -1.5, you can get it at plus 105. But either way, Mike Macdonald's been really good on the road, and the Seahawks have done a great job on the road since he's been their head coach. Give me the Hawks. Put your damn candle down.
Bringing the candle out one more time. It worked 2 weeks ago when they shocked 49er Nation on the road. I don't know how they pulled out Monday night, but right now Jacksonville, it's pulling more rabbits out of their hat.
They're sucking you in again, man.
They are. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to try it one more time. Taking Jacksonville at home. Maybe this is it. Maybe they finally figure. I don't know. I'll take Jacksonville.
They're sucking you in. They do this to you every year.
Every year. I know.
Rams and the Ravens, a game that looks really good at the beginning of the season, doesn't look great right now. It's not looking good for Lamar Jackson to be back on the field, which puts, obviously, Baltimore at a huge disadvantage. We saw Houston go into Baltimore last week and absolutely just slap the crap out of Baltimore and Cooper Rush. It doesn't look. He missed practice on Wednesday, did Lamar Jackson, trending towards missing a second straight game. That was per Adam Schefter yesterday morning on Get Up on ESPN there. This Rams team, here's the thing, man. I'm still not totally sold on this Rams team. No. Defensively, they haven't been what we kind of thought they were going to be. Tutu Atwell, questionable. Rob Havenstein is doubtful again with an ankle there. Colby Parkinson is questionable with a concussion. Nate Landman, who's been very good for them at linebacker, he's questionable with an ankle. And Tyler Higbee, who is a key part of that passing game for the Rams, he's also questionable with a hip. Marlon Humphrey questionable. Zay Flowers questionable. So we've got some injury issues in this game, but we got to play the game and somebody's got to win it. I think I can see the Ravens playing and making this a game somehow if they can get their defense moving in the right direction. I just don't have any faith in an offense led by Cooper Rush. I don't care if you've got Derrick Henry back there, especially when you're not giving him the ball very much. So what difference does it make? I will take the Rams very reluctantly in this game on the road, but it's not because I've been very impressed with the Rams.
Yeah, this is like there's not a lot to like about this game. Isn't that kind of funny? I mean, I think like you said, you look at it and you go, I feel the same way. I mean, I look at this and I just, in my head, I'm thinking there's no way that the Ravens can lose this game. There's no way that they can be 1-5. It's messing with my head. I can't see it. But then I'm going, gosh, they're terrible on defense. Their offense is a mess. And the Rams, like you said, I think everyone had thought the Rams were going to be up here, and they're kind of like down here somewhere. But unfortunately, I think with all the injuries and everything else, I think the Rams are just a little bit better. So I'm going to lean towards the Rams in this one. But I can't believe the Ravens will be 1-5. Like,
The cheapest ticket in the NFL this weekend is Rams Ravens. You can get in for as low as $26. That is cheaper than Saints Patriots and Colts Cardinals. That tells you something.
Just a quick aside: if they lose this game, are they done? Is 1-5? Are you done? Are they that?
It sounds crazy to say this, but I don't think they're totally done. I mean, they're going to have to get Lamar back healthy and start getting these defensive guys back in the mix healthy. I could see the Ravens, ripping off a great finish to the season, but they might have already done too much damage. And again, it sounds crazy at 1-5 to say that they might still be in it. But when I look ahead, Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Jets, 2 against the Bengals, the Patriots, they've got winnable games ahead of them if they can get Lamar back healthy. So it sounds crazy to say that I don't think they're totally out, but it's going to take one hell of a second half run for them to get it done. And if Lamar's healthy and their defense can pull their head out of their ass when they start getting all their guys back, I think you can make a case for it. It sounds crazy, but I think you can. Let's go to Las Vegas, Mac.
All right.
Your former residence.
This is quite the interesting matchup. The Titans. I didn't even.
You can say it's a shitty matchup because that's what it is.
I wanted to check to see if Tennessee actually, if they went back or just stayed out on the West Coast for this one. That'd be interesting to see. I don't know what they did. Both teams 1-4. I saw, as you know, Tennessee last week. They were just terrible from an offensive standpoint. I know the Raiders have been bad, but I don't think the Raiders are that bad. I'm all in on the black and silver this week. I think the Raiders get a win at home.
Trying to see if they stayed on the west side of town. No, the west side of town. They did stay. So they stayed on the. So like most teams are doing, they stayed out west to adapt to the time. I don't think it really matters, but we forgot to get to this on Wednesday. The Raiders are on my ban list. I can't trust this team right now because Geno Smith looks worse than I've ever seen him right now. And it's not that I trust the Titans a whole lot more either. I think this game is the definition of butt ugly. I'm going to take the Titans just because I don't trust the Raiders. Let's go on to this one, and if I can find this picture quick enough. We've got Joe Flacco attempting to beat the Cincinnati Bengals for the second time this season, kind of in a little bit of a historical situation. The last guy to beat a team twice while playing on two different teams in the same season was Jimmy Clausen in 2015. So Flacco gets that opportunity as the starting quarterback for the Bengals in Green Bay against the Packers, another team that won the Super Bowl in everybody's eyes after week one, and they lost to the Browns and they tied the Cowboys. Those were the last two instances that we've seen them. Obviously a home game. We know the issues with Cincinnati's offensive line, but can you imagine the smile on Joe Flacco's face when they said, hey, we're trading you to Cincinnati. Oh, I get to throw to those receivers now and leave Cleveland? That's a double bonus right there. I think the offense for the Bengals will put up some numbers, but I'm very concerned over the long-term health of Joe Flacco behind that offensive line for Cincinnati. I think this game is going to actually be fairly high scoring, but there's no way in hell I'm going to pick the Bengals. I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's a lot of shrapnel over the last couple of weeks. They haven't played as well as, I guess everybody kind of figured that they would. I know how much you adore their quarterback, Jordan Love. You don't think he can win a big game. Not that this is a big game, but it kind of is. This is one of those games that, Cincinnati's not playing well. But Cincinnati's going to put points up. I don't care who you put at quarterback for Cincinnati. It just seems like they put up 30 or 40 points. Insert quarterback here. Boom. It's going to happen. But like you said, you get a new quarterback. I don't care if he's a veteran quarterback or not. It's tough to come in in the week and just kind of figure things out. So Green Bay at home, I think this is an easy win for Green Bay.
Tampa Bay, San Francisco and Tampa Bay, a game that it sucks because it's a little watered down. When you look at the injury report, I wanted to see both of these teams at pretty much full strength, and maybe we will later in the season. But as far as Tampa goes, Zion McCollum is out, Benjamin Morrison out, Mike Evans out, Bucky Irving out, Josh Williams is out. For the 49ers, everybody's still in questionable status, especially since we're on the West Coast here, and on West Coast time, I don't think we've gotten the full report from today. You're not going to know who's going to play quarterback for the 49ers probably until Sunday morning. For the Niners situation, Alfred Collins is questionable, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Mac Jones all questionable. If it's a case where Brock Purdy and Mac Jones can't go, Adrian Martinez. So a good game. It's got Romo and Nance on it. That's what everybody's looking at. You've got 2 4-1 teams. Very important game as far as the standings go. In the NFC, the Niners yet to lose a conference game, and Tampa has the one loss in conference to the Eagles. So a lot to play for here in this game. And the thing that I've been most impressed with the 49ers is everything that they've dealt with injury-wise. From losing George Kittle like 4 catches into week one, Kittle not going to be back for this game. Sounds like it's the Sunday night game next week where we'll see George Kittle back, but this 49er team has just figured out ways to win. And their one loss, they turned the damn ball over 4 friggin' times against Jacksonville. Tampa, we know what they've done. And my question with Tampa is, I brought it up to you guys earlier in the week, Mac, is you're coming from behind so many times because your defense has not played very well this year. And that's what I wonder is, when does that kind of balance it out on the schedule? Can the 49ers take advantage of what they've seen against the Tampa defense? And right now, I can't bet against them because they're finding ways to win. And it's a scary proposition for the NFC if this team can get to full health towards the end of the year because of the schedule the Niners have. I like the Niners on the road here. Don't ask me exactly how they're going to do it. They've just done it.
And I think, well, how they've done it is they have an incredible coaching staff. I mean, that's how they do it. They put guys in the right spots. They scheme things the right way. I like the way Tampa's gone about things the last couple of weeks. I like the fact that they went on the road against Seattle, a pretty good defensive team, and took care of business there. I'm going to take Tampa Bay at home in this game. But like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. I wish both teams were at full strength, and maybe we'll see that at full strength back in January. So that'll be fun to watch there. Lions and Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. It was an opening game of the season a couple years ago, a really fun one. We know this Lions team is really starting to crank and roll out, and I mentioned it in my blog this week, Mac. When I look at all the 4-1 teams, and I included Pittsburgh in there at 3-1, the Lions have played the most complete football outside of one bad game in week 1. The Chiefs now coming off of that loss to Jacksonville. I think the scoreboard is better be prepped and ready for this one. The over-under at 52.5. I'm definitely playing this game over. And I'm also going to take the Lions on the road here against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, it's another week or two for them getting everybody kind of back in sync before I can really kind of assess where the Chiefs are. I still think they're a good bet to win the AFC West, but I like the Lions in this spot on the road in Kansas City on Sunday night.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this game could go way over the 52.5 points. The thing that just worries me about Kansas City is that they still don't have a running game. I mean, when you're 5 games into the season, in an NFL season, guys, and your quarterback's the leading rusher, that's a problem. I mean, college is one thing, but professional, that's a whole nother thing, and it's not really even close. I think that's one thing that kind of hurts this team. I saw a report. I think Worthy's going to be ready to go. So again, I love what here's the thing. I think Mahomes is having an MVP type season.
I mean, think you're 100% there.
I mean, he's not kind of getting the run because, lucky I said run, but he's not. But listen, he's scary, and that's the thing that scares me in this game. I can see this being a high scoring game, and you just know that if he has the ball and they're close at the end, that Kansas City is going to find a way to make TJ's night just miserable. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm going to take the Lions in this game, but it scares me.
Yeah, it definitely does. And as we know from past history, anytime Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes play in primetime, it's always been entertaining. Back to that crazy game at the Coliseum, on Monday Night Football a few years back, the opening night game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a key game for both of these teams. Monday night, we've got a doubleheader. Early game is at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. We kind of talked about this game the other day. I think that Buffalo is going to struggle a little bit containing Bijan Robinson. At the same time, I have a hard time betting against Josh Allen, especially the Bills coming off of how bad they played against New England. I think the Bills win this game, and I think they do it pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it is kind of scary because, the Falcons, should be able to run the ball, like we said, against that suspect Bills defense. But I just don't think there's any way after the Bills get embarrassed on Sunday night that they go out and not win this game. So I've got Buffalo in this one.
Second game, which will start an hour later from Landover, Maryland, which is apparently now called Northwest Stadium. That's news to me, so we'll learn something new every day on this program. The Bears and the Commanders. Commanders obviously got Jaden Daniels back last week, and we saw the difference that made. They go on the road, they get a tough win. against the Chargers. The Bears 2-2, kind of figuring some stuff out. I think this has got a chance to be a really, really good game here for a little while. It's the Bears from the defensive side of the football, I think, that we're looking for the most here. And when you get into the injury reports, Austin Booker obviously is out on IR because of his knee. Grady Jarrett's questionable. Kyler Gordon is questionable. Colston Loveland is questionable for the Commanders. Again, and these are some key ones to keep an eye on, especially. It's Noah Brown and Terry McLaurin, both questionable. McLaurin still with that quad injury, Noah Brown with the groin. Deebo Samuel has been every bit as expected for the Commanders. And Northwest Stadium, it's almost as good as third field. Yeah, exactly. I had no idea it was freaking called Northwest Stadium. By the way, I can't wait till they go back to the RFK site. That's going to be fantastic for us old heads out here. I think the Bears have a better shot than a lot of people do in this game, but again, when Jaden Daniels can come back off of whatever he's been dealing with and they go into LA against a tough defense and they get a victory, now they're back at home. The place will be rocking. They're trying to do a blackout there, so it's going to be popping. It's the last game of the weekend. I can't pick against the Commanders in this spot here, but I think it'll be a good game, and TJ will love it because he gets Patrick Mahomes on Sunday Night Football and Caleb Williams on Monday Night Football. It's the TJ double play.
Oh, yeah, and it does not look like we're going to have to order that T-shirt or that shirt for TJ, the Caleb Williams shirt. It's not trending in a good direction, that's for sure.
Does he have to wear it if they make the playoffs, or do they have to win the division? I can't remember.
Just make the playoffs. So
I'm telling you.
We'll see. I'm gonna stick with Washington in this one. My trust level in the Bears is not there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Washington on the outside of the playoff picture. Obviously, a lot of football left to go. Interesting stuff here, Mac, and it's going to be a fun weekend. Check this out real quick before we get up on out of here. Here's your AFC standings as of right now. Indianapolis, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, the Chargers, the Jaguars, the Patriots, and the Broncos. Those are your 7. Right outside that 7 mark, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Houston Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the AFC is setting up for a fantastic run down the stretch. With the loss last night by Philadelphia, San Francisco is now the top spot in the NFC because they would hold a tiebreaker over Detroit and Tampa Bay winning percentage in conference games. Obviously, the game against Tampa this weekend, huge implications because Tampa sits at that 2 line. Detroit's 3, Philly 4, Green Bay 5, Seattle 6, Minnesota 7, with the Commanders, Rams, and Falcons closest to the outside of that number there. This is one of those weekends, and we talk about it all the time. You get into week 6. Now we start to see some of the forming of what we think we're going to see down the stretch. Will the Jets remain winless after this weekend? I would say probably so, but it's going to be a fun one. Any final thoughts on you? Any liquid locks for the weekend?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. I know we were going to talk about it, but we haven't had time. But yesterday, Red Sox Nation and everybody lost a great guy, and Mike Greenwell, the Gator. That was his nickname.
Such an amazing story on how he got that name too.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, the Red Sox, it was Ted Williams, it was Carl Yastrzemski, it was Jim Rice, and it was Mike Greenwell. And Mike Greenwell, I mean, should have won. He got hosed out of the MVP. Canseco won it that year. It should have been Mike Greenwell. Mike Greenwell is interesting. I saw something today. I think it was Ian Brown that put it in there, kind of who he played with. Jim Rice, Wade Boggs, Dwight Evans, Roger Clemens, Lee Smith, Ellis Burks, Mo Vaughn, Tim Wakefield, and even Noma for a little bit. But yeah, the Gator, he was from Florida. He wrestled alligators when he was a youngster, and he played a little trick on Ellis Burks.
It's so good. Wrestles up his gator, tapes his mouth shut, and throws it in Ellis Burks' locker.
So, but he was if you're like me, somebody, grew up in the 80s with the Red Sox, you had the Mike Greenwell stance in more than one wiffle ball or even baseball game in your life. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Cancer sucks. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great in the game that a lot of us got to see. kind of growing up, and it's like you talk about some of those guys like Gary Sheffield. I mean, I don't know how many times as kids we used to tape up wiffle ball bats with duct tape and hit racket balls across my neighborhood as a kid and use the upper level of the 2-story houses to try and mark home runs and stuff like that. And like everybody in my generation tried to swing like Gary Sheffield, Mickey Tettleton, the Craig Councils, the Ricky Sassers. Mike Greenwell's another guy on that list. So our thoughts and everything with his family. Final note here, I wanted to bring this up before we get out. Did you see LeBron's going to miss the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season with sciatica? Do you think he got it from lifting VSOP bottles in his stupid announcement decision 2 the other day?
Wow.
Speaking of things that'll ruin Tony's weekend.
Yeah. I'm speechless. When I saw that, I was actually out playing golf. Oh, by the way, hey, can I put one more thing in there? My daughter, I think, set a record yesterday at the golf course.
We can do whatever we want. It's our damn show.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you, my daughter yesterday set a record on the golf course.
Uh-oh.
Number of cartwheels done on the golf course. Had to be on 18 holes. I'm not joking. She must have done 500 cartwheels over the greens, in the bunkers, on the fairway. Yeah, she did swing a golf club here and there, but it had to be 500 cartwheels at least.
It's more entertaining than live golf, I can tell you that.
I'll tell you, every time I looked up the chip or putt, there she was, right in the green, doing a cartwheel. It was great.
One more thing of note here that just came across. Cody Bellinger is, and this is not shocking, will opt out of his contract and become a free agent next month. So, again, I don't think there's any way the Yankees let him go. It's probably going to cost them $1.25 to $1.75, I think, to keep him, because I don't think there's any shortage of teams that would easily pay him $100 million. He's only 30 years old, but I think he comes back. I think you nailed it. It was a very good grab for the Yankees. A lot of history there. So plenty of stuff. Tuesday night we'll be back at our normal Tuesday night slot, 5:30 on the West Coast, as with Wednesday. Again, tonight, the Big Mac kickoff, USC and Illinois. I will have more on the Oregon-Indiana game. TJ After Dark has... you have Ohio State and Illinois. I keep saying...
I have Ohio State, yeah.
USC-Michigan is the After Dark game. 5 for 500 this week. Another attempt for us to get that done. And then on Sunday, the spread.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen this week.
We've got an interesting group this week. Puberty is a great thing. We've got an interesting group this week on 5 for 500. So any final words, Vegas Mac?
Sit back and enjoy this weekend, guys. If it's anything like our Thursday night, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. So I'm excited about the baseball tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets started tonight. Another big game in the American, too, tonight as far as college football goes. South Florida and North Texas, two teams that have a chance to win that conference. And North Texas is a team a lot of people are big on. So you got college football tonight. You got some hockey. I think there's hockey tonight. The way they did the beginning of the season schedule. No, there's no hockey tonight. That's right. This was the day that there's 0 NHL games on. Genius freaking planning there, guys. So whatever. We'll get back to you in the spot next week. Follow us on all of our social channels. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, for the people behind the scenes, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you Tuesday night.